The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of any Grand Lodge nor a pendant body of Freemasonry.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Masonic Shelf Shorts. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Williams.
And I'm the other host, Brad Kohanke, and tonight we have a special treat for you. We have Rite Worshipful Lucas Minton, who is the Grand Senior Warden of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of Arkansas. And tonight he's going to be talking about the degree of Rose Croix. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
So there's a lot of discussion about the origins of Freemasonry, Freemasonry's rituals and where they came from, whether Freemasonry is a spiritual successor of the Egyptian mysteries or the Greco-Roman mysteries and those schools, or whether its ancient teachings were actually brought from the ancient Orient by the Templars to Europe. Or finally, whether it was written in Europe as a outer circle for the propagation of the Rosicrucian teachings. We'll probably never know Freemasonry's actual origin story, but we see all these echoes as time goes on, and we see these traditions come to light. But through all of this, there's one very interesting piece of degree work that shows up early and is constantly present in the high grade Masonry, and that is the concept of the Rosy Cross, or the Rose Croix, depending how you want to pronounce it. Now, there are several rites that had a form of Rose Croix degree or grade, whatever you want to call it. It was the seventh in the French Rite. It was the seventh in the Philalethes. It was the eighth in the Mother Lodge of the Philosophic Rite. It was the 12th in the Elect of Truth. It was the 10th in the Adoniram Rite, the 7th in the Elus Coens. It was the 7th in the Melusino Rite. It was the 18th in the Mother Scottish Lodge of Marseille, the 18th in the Rite of Heredom or Perfection, and the 18th of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite we know now. It's the first in the Royal Order of Scotland. It's the 19th in the Rite of Mizraim, and it's the final degree of the Baldwin Rite. So as you can see, it's prolific. It's everywhere. This Rose Croix, however you want to say it. It is something that just keeps showing up throughout Freemasonry. And you have to put yourself in this mindset where you understand that in the beginning, Freemasonry was not clean. It was not orderly and properly fashioned. It was messy. And a rite or a degree might appear in different places. Now, what we also see is there are many encampments or preceptories over time when Freemasonry is this kind of messy amalgamation. And there's a guy named Robert Carlyle, and he had an expose, and in his expose work, he actually had this Rose Croix work that many of these preceptories and many of these encampments practice. Now, if we go to kind of that grandfather reference book, we go to Mackey's Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. It's recorded that there are many conflicting statements regarding the degree's origin. However, most Masonic writers agree it is the oldest, if not the oldest degree of high Masonry. So another thing that's important to remember is that this is Christian Europe we're talking about. This is the 17th century Europe, and this is specifically England when we're really looking at this stuff. And so this degree, this grade, would speak deeply to the people who were receiving it. This special group of recipients that are getting this high grade Masonry. Now, the term that was used to describe the Rose Croix work there was a substitute name, and it was ne plus ultra, which means the most perfect or extreme example of its kind, or the ultimate degree. In David Harrison's Rediscovered Rituals of English Freemasonry, we hear about this famous degree more than once. Brother Harrison, he gives us the synopsis of the Richard Carlyle that we mentioned previously. His expose with the craft rituals and as much high-grade masonry as Carlisle could get his hands on at the time. Now, he wasn't a Mason, but his work was so good, so prolific, that many of the lodges in England used this expose as what we would call a monitor of the time. And in this work, this Rose Croix work shows up in this piece of expose. There's a Templar degree that we see called the Knight of the White Eagle or of the Pelican, and that kind of imagery, it has a lot in common with our ancient accepted Scottish Rite 18th degree that we see nowadays here in America. Now, he also, by he I mean Carlisle, called it the Rosicrucian, and also called it the Ne Plus Ultra, or Knight of the Rosy Cross, which should sound familiar to all of us. It was practiced at an encampment that was found in the Bottoms in the early 19th century under the Grand Lodge of All England at York. Once again, this was a messy time. There were competing Grand Lodges. It wasn't just UGLE as we know it today. And there, at this encampment in the Bottoms, it was copied again from Carlisle's work. We also see that in Jerusalem Preceptory, which was number 5 in Wigan, that they were conferring a Rosicrucius degree and in the Todd Morton. And we also find an encampment that conferred the Rose Croix degree, and it appeared to be the same again as what we've already discussed. It was in those Carlisle transcriptions. That same degree, that same piece of work showing up repeatedly, different places. Once again, very old work, but well known. Renowned writer, mystic, historian, Arthur Edward Waite, he theorized that the Rose Croix degree, or grade, depending who you ask, was a surviving component from now lost older rites. And he stated that the whole arrangement of the Rose Croix grade, its clothing, its jewel, and the chambers in which it's worked are very reminiscent of an older order. The 3 points are in crude correspondence to the hermetic workings in alchemy, which are blackness, death, and finally, the resurrection, known for being a guide into that perfect state. One thing that is also interesting is that in many of these degree systems, there's this angel that is conducting our aspirant, our want to be receiving this knowledge candidate. And that person is often Raphael. And he is known, if you actually go look him up, as being the guide and the protector. And on the Scottish Rite of things, if you're thinking about the 18th degree, if you're a Scottish Rite member, it makes sense. One wonders if Pike, having this, the chapter swallow up the Council of Princes of Jerusalem, because it was all one big story, going and getting this aid, rebuilding the temple. It's all the same story, and it's a large analogy. So it really makes one wonder if there are a lot of reasons behind what reason things are done that we might not know about during this day and time. So wrapping up, it always comes back to paying attention to what's going on in Freemasonry. Let's always pay attention. We're terrible about getting our degrees and not thinking about them, not studying them, not meditating on them, and thinking through them critically. But it's something that's absolutely necessary. So in these degrees, we look at Zerubbabel in York Rite. We look at the Irish degrees. We look at the rebuilding of the temple in the Scottish Rite. All these same things, these characters, they keep showing up. This theme, rebuilding the temple, which shows up in the Rose Croix work, it once again shows up in all these different rites. So seeing these similarities, these recurring things, it should make us where we're taking note of something that's sublime that is being communicated to us about this degree, about this ancient piece of work, that we as Masons should examine that the minutia that has to do with this degree work in order to understand all the lessons that are being communicated to us from our previous brethren.